I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Talking Tuesday. Welcome back, and I'm really glad you could make it. If you've been watching the channel, you know I just got back from my trip to Cleveland and back, and I'm putting that video together. I'm gonna kind of take my time, so it might be maybe another week, maybe a week and a half before that's ready, but there's a lot of video there to work with, and I want to make sure I get it right, and hopefully it won't suck. I'm just feeling a little moody. You know, the trip is over, the big adventure is kind of done. It's an anticlimax. All that adrenaline, all that planning, a lot of plans that I had that didn't come to fruition because of nasty weather. And I gotta tell you, with the Weather Channel talking about flooding and rain and flash floods and the whole thing, I was really concerned about not being able to come home, you know, or getting blocked off or having to go way out of my way to come home. So as much as I wanted to see the sights on the way back, I opted just to come straight through. And it was a pretty horrible ride for about the last half of it. The first half was really nice. And I gotta tell you, I'd love to get back to Kentucky and see what it looks like without all the rain coming down, because even in nasty cloudy weather, it looked gorgeous, and I'd really like to go check it out. But when I hit Tennessee, I started getting caught up in it. North Carolina absolutely got hammered. When I got into Kentucky, I threw a warning light on my dash and checked through it. It looked like a couple of ECM codes. But the bike was starting and running fine, seemed to be charging okay. You know, this is not what you're supposed to do, but I opted to just ride through. I figured in Knoxville, I could find a dealership, have them look at it. By the time I hit Knoxville, I was soaked. It was miserable weather, and Asheville was the next big stop, Asheville being in North Carolina. But once I hit Asheville, I'm on I-26, which is pretty much a straight shot home. So that part of me that just wants to push through, just keep going, decided just another tank of gas. I'm going to fill up again, go to Asheville, see what the weather's like. My wife was telling me it was sunny where we live, and I kept expecting to break through it. And that would have been awesome. But the rain didn't really stop for good until just north of Columbia, South Carolina. But I made it. And I have to say that going the 672 miles on the last day, and doing that through cruddy roads, cruddy weather, and a lot of hills and turns, you know, it started me thinking that maybe I could do an iron butt. Maybe it wouldn't be as tedious as I think. So I got that rolling around in my head. I really didn't get any video on the way back because everything on the bike was soaked. I don't have much to show you from that, but, you know, picture a nasty rainstorm for hundreds of miles. And that was it. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about on this Talking Tuesday is law enforcement, the cops, the police, the popo, the fuzz, peace officers. I know people that are like, cops are a waste of skin. Hate the cops, they should all be gone. They should all get real jobs. You know, hang them all right after the lawyers. I also know people whom I like, who are ex-cops or just became cops. I know people who are all about the cops. You know what? If a cop says it, it must be so. Oh, the police are just so abused. Watch, I'm going to start getting all kinds of tickets after this. But here's where I stand on it. And it's somewhere in between. And I think it goes back to people being people, which seems to be a recurring theme for me. I know there are cops who are abusive of their power, they belittle people. I know there are cops who believe that they are doing the best for society. A lot of the idea behind outlaw clubs not letting cops in isn't so much that they're breaking the law. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they believe there's something fundamentally wrong with you if you are okay with locking a man up and taking away his freedom. And that goes for cops, military police, corrections officers, jailers, anybody who's involved in that process of taking away people's freedom. Now that works great if society can self-police. If somebody's doing something stupid or harming another person, If we could just stomp them into dust, we don't need to incarcerate them. Unfortunately, the laws have taken up that if somebody is doing something stupid or hurting somebody else, for the most part, you can't take the law into your own hands. There's a lot of states where you can protect yourself even to the point of lethality, being lethal. And even then, it's a super gray line. If somebody breaks into my house, I better make sure that they look like they're charging me and heading straight on and attacking me. You can't chase after somebody to take them down. You know, legally, that's wrong almost everywhere. So what's left? Because there's a lot of dirtballs out there that badly need correction. Badly. You know, somebody abuses a child, they badly need correction. So you can't kill them. What do? You gotta lock them up. They badly need to be locked up. If they're a threat to society and there's nothing that society can do about it, they need to be locked up. My kids pick on me because I think carjacking is a death penalty offense. I think home invasion while somebody is there is a death penalty offense. I think there's a lot of death penalty offenses, actually. Not terribly sympathetic. I know somebody who has been in countries where there's effectively no law enforcement. And we've had this discussion, and he said, you don't want to be there. They are basically, I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it. Well, there isn't one. They're pretty much shitholes. Maybe we need to call law enforcement a necessary evil. Now, does that mean that there aren't police who don't abuse their power? People who do like to bully other people behind a badge? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Especially since they are trained to contain a situation. You know, until they contain a situation for everybody's safety, they're generally not polite. Generally. And they, by their very training, I believe, do not let you dictate the situation. Everything they do is to show you that they are in charge. And it's a matter of safety for them and everybody involved. But there are people who abuse it. You know, there are people who got beat up as kids in school, and now they're law enforcement. I guess in their minds it's more about policing than it is about protecting and serving. But I can't judge everybody by those people any more than I want everybody judging me by whatever biker faction is out there, whatever biker faction you see on the news. So am I a hater? No. I'm not a hater beyond hating anybody who abuses power and authority. In some ways, I'm sympathetic because, you know, that's a job that, I mean, a lot of people do hate them just because they wear a uniform. And I have to think that as a cop, you can't trust anything that anybody says. And I don't appreciate liars, but you know they've got to get lied to all the time. How are you today? Fine, officer. You know that's a lie. And I get irritated in traffic. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a cop when everybody in front of you slows down to 10 miles under the speed limit. How many times are they just like, would you go already? You know, I watch a lot of cop shows, not because I'm a cop fan, it's entertaining. And everybody who made it through the entire Sons of Anarchy series needs to stop typing right now. I just watch it because it's entertaining. I like to see those situations where it's like, ooh, I don't know if they're telling the truth or not. That's a tough call. It's like the same uncertainty as gambling. It's like watching a sporting event. You just don't know how it's going to turn out. Now, does that mean I'm a fan? No. And as a person, I have a lot of problem with authority. As a libertarian, I just want to be left alone. Now, I will say that, you know, I don't wear colors or anything, so it may be different for them. But I've really never had a cop harass me. I was at a gas station up in Kentucky, I think it was. And I was coming back out to my bike, and I looked up, and a rather rotund sheriff was coming over, and he's like, oh, you're a long way from home. I'm like, yes, I am. He's like, well, you ride safe. I'm like, thank you. I'll do my best. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, I wonder if he just came over to check my license plate out, if he was just looking at me. You know, if I was wearing colors, would it have been a different story? I don't know. You know, I don't want to assume anything. But he did have the vibe of one of those backwoods sheriffs. You know, just the vibe, I don't know, I could be completely wrong. But, you know, I mean, I was polite to him. I didn't take it as an offense. We were just talking. It was just an encounter. It wasn't a big deal. I wasn't like, I have nothing to say. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I'm not a hater, but let's just keep it professional. I generally want to be left alone, and it works pretty well. I have a theory. I've gone by cops before knowing that I was doing more than the speed limit. Not a lot, I'm not talking crazy, but they could have got me. But I'm riding pretty responsibly, and I don't know if they were busy arranging their donuts or what. I just don't know. Come on, man, laugh that off. I know cops who have made the donut reference. You know, bikers loot and pillage, cops eat donuts. It's just the way of things. But they haven't looked up, they haven't tracked me down or given me a hard time. I've never really, you know, I've gone by cops directing traffic and they usually just nod, smile, or whatever. I mean, they're pleasant. I have this theory that there are cops out there that will not give you a hard time unless you're either wildly endangering yourself, going out of your way to just tick them off, or putting them in a position where they're answerable to not responding to you. If I'm driving down the road in a bunch of traffic, weaving in and out, and I'm doing 120 miles an hour, and they're sitting on the side of the road, I'm putting them in a position to where other people may be looking at them and saying, oh, there's the cop, why don't they do something? Answerable if something happens to me, or making them look bad because they're not responding. I think generally, if you stay away from those three things, most of the time, I think they'll leave you alone. You know, I'm kind of neutral on them. You know, the one thing I don't agree with, and it's really more a matter of the law than law enforcement, is fleeing. And it's a felony. Here's my thought. If you commit a crime and the police are chasing you, it's part of your job to flee. It's part of your job to get away. Now, that's not what the law says, so, you know, don't be like, well, Chris said. On the contrary, it's very bad. That and lying to the cops. Lying to the cops should also be part of your job description if you're going to break the law. It shouldn't be an additional charge, because once you commit a crime, your whole job is to try not to get caught. Like I said, that's a legal issue. That's not a law enforcement problem. I'm not really going to ask you to respond below as to what you think. If you choose to, that's up to you. I get it. I just assume that everything that goes online is permanent, no matter how many times you delete it. I always used to say, don't put anything online or in writing that you don't want used against you at the trial. Oh my gosh, if only my trip back from Indiana was like this. I made the announcement that I was going to start doing a Finally Friday series celebrating the weekend. And I was really excited about it. It's a little different than anything else I've done in that it's, in my head, it's very structured. It'll have very defined segments. And I've been making a list of topics that I want to go through. I at least want to get like 20 or so lined up, just so I don't have to stop and think every week, oh, what am I going to do this week? I can just do it and put time into production and recording and everything else. And I was catching up on some of the moto vloggers that I subscribed to, because I really didn't watch hardly any while I was gone. And I was watching Walterific, and apparently he has a Finally Friday vlog. I jacked his idea. I know doing music, one of the big fears was that you'd write something and then come to find out later that, oh, that sounds just like that other thing that you had heard somewhere else. So, I mean, it's not an intentional theft of somebody else's work, but it's subliminal. It's a close derivative. So I'm looking for something else, and I thought maybe you could help. Instead of Finally Friday, which was, you know, think of this as a relief. Ooh, it's finally Friday. Let's get on with the weekend. I'm looking for a name for the Friday series. As I said, is celebratory of the weekend. We made it through the week. Here's the weekend. Finally Friday just seems so natural. I mean, I could make it derivative. It's finally freaking Friday. It's finally Friday, friends. Friendly Friday. Now, frantic Friday. Now, I might have to bust open a dictionary. But this is running really long. I had a lot to say. I watched a video the other day of some guy ramble on for like 25 minutes. He's got thousands of subscribers, and half the time is just rambling and searching for words, trying to complete sentences. And I'm watching it, I'm like, that's not right. Frustrated Friday. frustrated Friday. Every Friday you can hear about how ticked off I am. No, I don't want to do that. I try to be fairly positive. I need to get home. We're going out for sushi. The wife's treating. I like that. Of course, if she's treating out of our account, that's really more semantics, but it makes her feel better, so that's fine. Thanks again for dropping in. I appreciate you being here every single time. I appreciate you hanging in with me. I appreciate you subscribing. You know, you're not just a number to me. Well, in a way you are, but that's not what I mean. I appreciate your support. I wonder if I could squeeze in a trip to Texas before the winter sets in. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.